I don't know if there's anyone here yet, but it'll probably take a couple of minutes because it's the middle of the day for a lot of people. Very early morning here in Australia on the East Coast. Pretty normal for you though, right, Sam?
This time of the morning? Yeah, I'm usually up by now. Yeah, 6, 5:30.
Yeah.
Thereabout.
Yeah. Good to see you.
I'll let folks in the group know.
I was reading it's already streaming in the group, so it should notify people in there. Yeah, so were you up late last night doing last minute?
Yep. Oh, sorry, hands. Give me a second. Just get my top-down camera working. Sorry.
Alrighty. And if we need to swap over to my pedal board, I'm going to jump onto my phone camera. I tried to set up a
lovely. All right, that's working.
Camera, but
can I rotate? Is it possible to rotate this camera in Restream, like top down, because it was sideways on Tuesday?
I think you just rotate your whole browser. Either that or go into settings on the phone. So go into the settings on Restream on your phone's browser page.
Right.
And I think you can change the.
So now it's asking me, it's making a whole new stream.
No, because you got to go to. Oh, okay. So you just got to go to app.restream and then enter the studio we've got going on there.
I'm trying, man. It's on the phone. It's not working.
I'm sorry. We have.
I'm getting there. I'm sorry, folks.
Yep. So you scroll down past the start with studio, and there should be a stream there.
There we go.
Hey, there you are. Wonderful.
Yeah, no, it doesn't automatically rotate.
No, so it must be in settings on Restream. Let me find it on mine. I'll find it.
For anyone who's sending me messages, where we are live right now, so bear with me. And I'll answer your messages in the stream. Okay, well, I guess that'll have to do. It's quite framey. Sorry, everyone. We are not professional streamers, but we're getting there. I'm gonna. Anyway, do you want to start chatting, Simon, and just introducing the stream? I'll get there in a sec.
Prior planning prevents poor performance. Yes, well.
You are not wrong, whoever said that, but hello. It also doesn't matter how much planning you do sometimes, you still get poor performance.
Yes. Default facing back.
You all good there, Simon?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just trying to find the rotation.
Oh, that's all good. I sorted that.
Oh, you did? Great.
Try the stream.
Okay, well, I am. Okie dokie. Let's turn that off. Alrighty. As long as you're professional pedal makers, who cares about pro streaming? I love it. I love it.
Indeed. Oh, that might be blurry. Well, good morning, or good evening, or Good day, everyone, wherever you are. It's 6 a.m. here for us, but we are aware that many of our European viewers have kind of got the raw end of the stick when it comes to times that we've been streaming and things like that. So, yes, good morning, Simon. Can you keep introing?
Yeah, okay. Well, if you've got any questions, please make sure to put them in the chat. I know we've said a lot of things about this new firmware version. Where are we going? Publicly. So if you'd like us to address something that's maybe been a bit confusing about what we've said, please let us know. We're getting quite close to being able to launch this thing. And Sam is just getting his Bridge 6 there factory reset so that we can show you from the top what this new firmware looks like.
Yeah, so as Simon mentioned, we're going to be showing you guys, basically, I want to kind of just walk through from wherever all the cool new stuff, or as much of it as we have time for today, that we've got in the new firmware. Why my chat's not appearing? That's less than ideal. But yeah, we're going to be just walking through that from start to probably not quite finished, but thereabouts. So if you have any questions, if you want, this is the idea of this is it's like a virtual hands-on for you guys. So if you want to say, can you show this, or how does that work, or what about this, then I'll be able to do that, on the fly and show you guys. So I'm just trying to get that light bar reflection. Where is my chat?
In Restream?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you just on the right? There's
all I've got is brand settings. There we go. Chat. I just can't see. Dave. Hi, Dave. How you doing? And Nathan. Hello. Welcome, guys. It's nice to have you here. I know this time probably a little bit better for you than some of our other times, so that's good. That's good. Welcome.
Okay, we've got our first question. Looking forward to seeing the new features, fellas. How's the expression pedal calibration going? Answer, done, working. We can show you.
Yeah, I'll give you a look. Give you a look for sure. I'm actually sorry. I've got another bridge here. I'm just updating the firmware on that too. It's been in my studio so that I can show you guys some of the device link functionality, which is really cool. So there's a couple of tweaks still to be made on the firmware, but most things are pretty much locked down. I think Simon and I were talking, we're aiming to release or thinking of releasing a public beta, essentially, probably this week, which will essentially be a fairly complete version of the firmware. We just need a wider number of people than our closed beta testers to just help track down any strange edge cases or things like that. So stay tuned for that. We'll be announcing that. A couple more questions. Hang on just a second. I love using MIDI. How does this connect to a MIDI device? So let me just flash this guy and I'll show you how the calibration works. So, I have to excuse me. I've got to save desk space because I'm a little limited. I've got a little excuse for an expression pedal here. Do just the same job. So this is just a little pot wired up to a jack. So you can see we're greeted with this this home screen, and a few sort of placement things have been tweaked. First up, you'll see that the foot switch text is bigger, even on the regular UI mode, which is really nice. So you get a lot more visibility in that. Name size is just the same. So let's get started. First of all, expression pedal calibration. I'll show you guys that. So under global in the menu, if we go to global expression pedals, I should clarify that I need to set the Flexiport as an expression pedal first. Otherwise, nothing good's going to happen. So mode, I'm going to go backwards so I don't spoil the surprise for some of the new MIDI modes there.
Which one? Oh, the MIDI modes.
It.
You already spoiled the more interesting one.
Oh, did I? Well, there you go.
Oh, well.
Anyway, so now our Flexiport is set up for an expression pedal. And we'll go to global expression pedals because it's a global calibration setting. And you can set up the calibration for each of the 4 available expression slots. So using an expression doubler, you can get 2 expression pedals through one Flexiport, and you can calibrate them both independently. So EXP1A is just what we want to use if it's the default sort of slot with just a single expression pedal. We'll go plug that in. And we'll go calibrate, and it'll give us some instructions. So hold the EXP pedal at max position for 5 seconds. Now I'll deliberately cut it short because this doesn't actually require any calibration. So let's say I'm only turning it sort of to there, it doesn't quite get all the way. So you can see there that the expression pedal ranged from about 23% to 99.9%. So in other words, full range, it's perfect. But at minimum, it's not reaching that bottom threshold properly. So we'll exit out of the menu. We've got our little bar graph here. You can see our expression value goes to full, as you would expect. And then as we get down to where the minimum amount I turned it, you can see it bottoms out there. So it actually has mapped that range automatically, and will do so for all of your MIDI messages for each of the 4 expression slots. And then obviously this is simulating if you had a dead zone. Yeah, so really easy to do, really nice.
Yeah, your audio went out just as you were finishing that explanation there. Sam just garbled a little bit. I'm not sure if it was like that for everyone else, but I'll just say again, so it maps the full MIDI range to that limited range of the pedal. So you're not missing anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, really easy to do. Hopefully that kind of clears your question up. So, we'll kind of take you through some cool new things from the start. So, first of all, thanks to Matthias. I've been working with him. He's a really engaged member in a whole bunch of gear groups, especially with live looping. I hear he's a monster cello player. But you can now go into global and assign the device name. So I'll go all the way to device name and bridge 6 by default. Now, this is not only stores it as sort of a device identifier, but it's actually the name that will show up in your settings in your device manager if you're on Windows or whatever else. So it actually reports as the name of the device as part of the USB descriptor package. Now, why that is cool? One, it can help you differentiate between multiple bridge devices plugged in. Say you can name them and that'll persist. It's stored in the global settings. But also if you're using applications, so one of the issues is you have 2 of the same controller plugged in, let's say to an iPad in this case by USB, and it just gives them the same name, but you've got mappings assigned to each of them uniquely. Well, when you unplug them and replug them in, depending on which one's plugged in first, it's not going to map to the right controller necessarily because there's no unique name. Well, with this unique name, not only can you easily identify it, but apps will be able to take advantage of that to uniquely target that device. So super useful, super cool. I'm not going to bother renaming that for now, but so let's start at the switches. So the way the switches work is completely different. So, well, not completely different, but very different. You'll notice now in the menu as well, you've got these nice little bank up and down navigations on the top foot switches. And that's useful because as you're setting up, navigation, you don't want to have to exit the menu every time you want to, go up or down a bank. So you can just right here.
Yeah, because most of the settings in that lowest level, that first level menu there are actually bank level. So if you scroll along, it's the switches menu is for the switches settings for that bank. The bank name is next. What else is there after switches?
Yeah, all your bank settings are stored here. So switches, then bank name, bank messages,
bank messages.
Go to a new bank.
So all those first level messages, the Aux switches, and the expression pedals, they're all bank level. So to be able to change banks without exiting the menu saves a lot of time.
Yeah, that's for sure. So switches. Simon's covered this before in some content on the Facebook group, but I'll give you a look. So switches, this is where sort of the meat and potatoes of this update is. That LED is really bright. I might just turn the brightness down a little bit.
Dave's asking, so is switch type now at the bank level? Sure is.
Absolutely is, Dave. So not only is switch type at the bank level, but it's really, really powerful. Yeah, that's a little bit
big changes.
Big changes. So we'll go into config, switch 2. Now, we've got what's called the primary and the secondary side. Now, previously, this was only to do with LEDs. You had sort of the left and the right, the primary and secondary behavior of the LEDs, but we've extended this fully to how the switches behave. And this is really, really powerful and really cool, and it essentially gives you a whole nother set of switches to do actions with. So the secondary side allows you to do double tap actions, momentary toggle, hold for both of those as well. And that has its own unique set of toggle stacks as well as the behavior stacks. So, press, release, hold, release, so on and so forth. So the primary is on toggle. You now can control the LED mode, so you can do on off. So when that's toggled on, the LED will light up. When it's off, it's off. Or dim, so that when it's toggled off, the LED is dim instead of completely off. So you always have that color recognition. That's really nice. The LED color, we've added a bunch of new preset LED colors, as you can see here. And then there's also 12 slots for custom LED colors. So you can define, you've got off as well. You can define your own color, custom, so on and so forth. Back to there. That's pretty nice. Now going across here, you see the menu mode as well has been sort of reworked. So hopefully it's a lot more intuitive and easy to use if you're editing on board. The secondary mode, see the secondary LED is lit up. We've got double tap toggle, hold toggle, double tap momentary, and hold momentary. So let's go to hold toggle for a second. Set this LED to dim so you can see what's happening. We'll save that. And then, actually I am just going to change the LED brightness back, only so that the dim and full bright settings are a bit more apparent on camera. So you can see here, these are both dim because they're in the toggle off state and it's set to dim. And when we turn it on, LED sort of turns on at the regular brightness and off. And hold toggle, we get a unique independent set of toggle messages for that secondary function, which is really, really nice, especially given that you can map both the primary and the secondary sides uniquely to something like an Aux switch, which means that you could plug another 6 foot switches in, map those to the secondary functions, and you've got another 6 unique toggle switches to do whatever you like with. Really cool. Really, really, really excited about that. Let's go back to our config. We'll see what else we can do. All right. So we've got toggle. We've got momentary mode. Behaves how you would expect. Tap tempo. So you can assign your MIDI clocks independently per bank now. Again, you get the LED behavior, the color, which MIDI clock. Now this is where we get into some of the really cool stuff. We've got these 4 new modes: sequential, sequential linked, scrolling, and scrolling linked. So we'll go down to sequential. What this allows you to do is assign a series or a sequence of messages to be sent every time you press the foot switch. So when you press the foot switch, 1, you'll go to the next step. Press it again, you'll go to the next step. And you can assign messages, unique colors, unique labels to each of those steps. This is really, really helpful for looping, scrolling through presets, all sorts of stuff. So we'll go through some of the functionality and the implementations in a little bit, but I'll just show you some of the options. So the direction, you've got forwards. You can go through the steps forwards, reverse, or pendulum. So you kind of bounce between the 2 ends. Then we'll press again, and we've got this secondary option here in send. This is really neat. What you can do is have it always send that step as soon as you press it. So, when you press it, it sends out all the MIDI messages for that step. Or we can go to secondary, and then it won't send those messages until the secondary action is triggered. So You can browse through your steps, and it'll indicate that it hasn't been sent yet. It's not live, so to speak. And then when let's say you hold on the foot switch, then it sends that step and engages it, or you might map it to an external foot switch or anything else. So really, really powerful stuff for scrolling through different sequences and messages. And we'll show some of the, how you edit those messages in a little bit. Do you have any thoughts, Simon, there? I'll stick my coffee.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. I personally love the sequential mode. I use it with the HX Stomp looper. Use the repeat setting, and I changed that to last two, so you can have 3 steps. You have record, play, and overdub, and then it will just repeat the last 2. Go play, overdub. And if you have a 4-step looping thing, then you can repeat the last 3 or something like that. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, we've been working with some of our beta testers to create basically all the tools you would need to create the most flexible, customizable looper controller. Where you can configure it so that your switches are controlling each other. It's behaving exactly how you would want your ideal looper platform to be, and you can do that just by kind of configuring how the switches work and behave. And what you'll be able to do with the app is take someone else's bank template or foot switch template and load it onto your device really easily. It's just a file, and then you've got that exact same functionality on your device, so you don't have to maybe go through the weeds and do the configuration and the setup if you're new to this and it seems a bit intimidating. So that's really, really cool. Yeah, you've got the repeat options there.
Yeah. So what can you do with the secondary side of it in sequential mode?
Secondary side, you can do all the same things as the primary. So the secondary side is, for the most part, with the exception of tap tempo, because it uses both sides, you can do everything you can otherwise. You got hold for both, toggle for hold and double press, and then momentary for hold and double.
Yeah, so for people who are used to using a one-switch looper on a HX Stomp, this is really cool because you can have that sequential mode doing your record, play, overdub, and you can use your hold functions, your hold toggle, to maybe do something like undo or fast forward or reverse or something like that. Really cool.
1 second.
Yeah. Any other questions about sequential mode? You can, so it has a maximum of 16 steps. If you only use 8 steps, you can do 2 messages per step. So the stack limit is 16.
Sorry, my alarm just went off.
Oh, on your phone.
To normally wake up. So
yeah.
There's that. Sorry about that, folks.
Okay. Cool.
So, regularly scheduled content.
Yeah, sorry, what was I saying about the I've forgotten. What was I saying?
Sequential steps.
Oh yeah. So the message stack maximum size for sequential is 16 messages, because there's also space for the other messages as well, on the secondary side and that kind of thing. So it's not a giant stack, but the
any room to expand though.
Yeah, room to expand. And if you use 8 steps or less than 8, then you can have multiple MIDI messages sent per step.
Well, not even less than 8, less than 16. So I'll show you what I mean. So in messages, you've now got, there's quite a few. So we've got toggle on, toggle off, press, release, double press, hold, release. And they're what we call the behavior stack. So the toggle on are the primary toggle on, then you've got the secondary toggle on, toggle off, and then all the others are actually sent on the behavior of the foot switch. So when it's pressed, when it's released, and they're sort of switch mode agnostic. They'll be sent, regardless of the switch mode, so you can create really cool what's happening. Then we've got sequential and scrolling. So sequential, the menu's a little bit of a challenge to fit onto the device. So this is definitely an area where we're working really hard on making sure that the app makes this really easy and intuitive. But until then, we've got all these steps. We can browse through them. So there's 12 sort of in there by default, so you can get used to some of the different pages. So if we just go delete a few of these, well, I kept step 12 in. Anyway, so now we've got 4 steps. We could edit it and browse through whatever color we want to set for this step. Yellow. We can change the name of the step. I'll leave that as it is for now, though. We'll just set some custom, some custom colors. So we've got yellow. Now we're done editing that step. We'll go up to step 3, edit. Let's make that aqua, say. Done. Step 2, edit. Let's make that peach. Sure. Done. Then you can edit the messages for that step. So if we go back into edit, we can go edit step 2 messages. And you see sequential messages are only available in sequential mode. So you can set this up, but then you'll need to put the foot switch into sequential mode in order to actually be able to send and kind of configure those messages. So it'll save that configuration for us. So we can go back into config. Now we'll set the primary mode to sequential, and the most of these modes are only available on the primary, and then your secondary has the hold hold and double press behaviors. So sequential, forwards, repeat, always. Save. So now it'll let us go into the messages, sequential, edit, and we'll edit the step 1 messages. So we've got 1 message. Now, when you're viewing messages now, it'll show you the number of available messages and what you're currently on, which is really nice. Some sort of UI tweaks and changes there. So edit. We can edit this, make it number 0 if we wanted to. Save that message.
So it's not the number of available messages, it's the number of messages that are currently in that stack and which number you're sitting on at the moment.
Sorry, well, available messages to be sent. Yes, so you can add more messages. It's the number that is currently in the
But
stack.
if that says 1 out of 1, it doesn't mean you can't add another message.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we can delete that, or we can, add another one. Let's make that on channel 2, number 1. I guess just something to show you guys what's going on. Now we'll exit this. Done. Yep. We'll just go back to the main screen. So now, foot switch 2 is in sequential mode, and it's going to show us the current step in larger font, so step 1, and then above it, it will show us the next step, or in other words, what's going to happen when we press the foot switch another time. So if you were in the reverse direction, then rather than step 2, it would show you the last step. I think that was called step 12. And the direction of the arrow would change to indicate where that step's going. So it intuitively tells you what's going to happen when you press on that foot switch. So browse through our messages and back to the start. And we've still got this hold functionality available. Sends out the hold, toggle messages whenever we like it. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
How are we doing? 6:30. We're not going to get through all the switch stuff today, I don't think. That's probably a whole nother stream. The idea is, if you guys have any particular questions, we'll show you guys whatever you're interested in. Otherwise, we'll just go through some of the big features. You can assign those to all the different switches. Switch modes are really, really powerful. I want to spend a bit of time on the switch groups, Simon.
Yeah, and maybe just quickly go to the Aux switches, because that's something a lot of people have asked about, is extending the feature of an external switch.
Absolutely. So
and in that you can talk about smart messages.
Yeah, for sure. So just like your expression pedals, you now can map messages to an Aux switch. Unrelated tri-switch here, shameless plug. So let's say you were to take an Aux switch, plug it into your Flexiport, you now have 3 more switches that you can assign messages to. And you can assign a message to 2 different actions, the press and the hold, I believe. So we've got went through that a bit fast. Aux switch 1, so in other words, Flexiport 1 Aux switch. We've got the A, which is the tip press messages, the A hold messages, the ring press and hold, and C press and hold. Now, okay, each of these can only hold one message. So you get one press message, one hold message, and you might think, oh, well, I want to send more than that. And this leads us into arguably the most powerful feature of this new update, in my opinion, and that is smart messages. So, smart messages. We'll browse through our, available MIDI types. And all the different MIDI messages. We get smart message. What is this? Well, a smart message is like a custom MIDI message that allows you to control the device using itself or other devices that are connected. You can send those out via device link, which I'll hopefully show you at the end of the stream. And there's a whole bunch of different things you can do. So with a smart message, it gets sent just the same as any other MIDI message. So if you assign this to, a toggle stack, then when that switch is toggled, it will sort of implement this smart message, if you like. So we've got switch on, so we can turn any switch on, any other switch on using this switch, so you can remotely control your device using an Aux switch. Any of our switches, the primary or the secondary side. We've got switch off, same thing, and switch toggle, so you can independently target the primary and secondary sides. We've got reset sequential, so you can reset where you're up to in your sequence, reset it back to 0. You've got set step sequential, so you can go to a specific step in the sequence. Likewise for scrolling modes, and scrolling modes is where you scroll through the parameters of a MIDI message. We'll show you that if we get some time. So set step and go to. Bank up, so you can use a remote foot switch for banking, if you like, and bank down. Go to a specific bank. Now, this is really cool. People were asking about jumping to specific banks rather than having to scroll through them using the bank up and down. Sure, no worries. You can just assign a smart message with go to bank on a particular foot switch. When you press that, it takes you to the bank. You could use it with an external Aux switch, or you could assign a smart message to any of the onboard stacks on here. It's going to work just the same. So go to bank, increment EXP message. This is really cool. It's not 100% finished. I'm going to be putting some finishing touches on that through the week. You can see that menu entry is blank. But what this allows you to do is, rather than having your expression pedal send out all, the stack sizes, 8 for the local and 8 for the global, all of those at once whenever you move it, you can cycle through which message you want to send. So,
so on a HX Stomp, you can have your MIDI controller plugged in, and you can use one expression pedal to control 2 different parameters on the HX Stomp. So you can have, say, a time and a feedback setting on a delay, each set 1 to expression 1 and 1 to expression 2, and by sending a CC number 1 and CC number 2 individually and swapping between those, you can use the one expression pedal to swap between which of those 2 parameters you change. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it just allows you to, if you've got 8, you can have 8 messages in the stack. It allows you to decide whether you're sending, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. And you can combine the local and the global messages with that. So you can target the expression pedal that you're incrementing, and you can increment each expression pedal slot independently. So really powerful. You can decrement it. You can go to a particular message in there.
I should say also, Sam, just because people will pick me up on this, is that the HX Stomp, you can also set it to just a MIDI CC. So you can actually add all 8 or all 16, if you like, of those controllable settings on the HX Stomp and cycle through them. So it's not just the 2 expression pedals.
Yep. And sorry, I didn't quite get
That's all right. That's all right.
The differentiation there.
But all the people who know about HX Stomp would have said, "Oh no, you can't just do 2 expression pedals. You can do lots of things."
Well, yes. Sorry, you can do whatever you want, basically.
Yeah, with the Bridge 6, you can do whatever you want. I was just clarifying for the HX Stomp people.
That's right. Now, previously with the switch out mode on the Flexiport, so it acts as a closed contact switch for other compatible devices. That was its own separate set of messages, and it was a little bit clunky and limited in the behavior. Now it's just a smart message. So TRS switch, which Flexiport, whether it's open, tip, ring, or tip and ring, you just assign that however you see fit. You get relay interface, which is a specific Flexiport mode that we developed for the, is it here? It's in the other room, for the Morningstar relay interface box. So we've added control specifically for the relay interface box, which is really, really nice. I might go grab it and give you a look.
Yeah.
So, and that will work with other devices, but it's specifically designed for that device because it uses a particular type of switching. So I think we're going to do look at that in our next Teardown Tuesday. So another live stream on Tuesday morning our time. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
So smart messages, we're going to be adding to those. And the beauty is this is a really expandable way for us to add new functions and, flexibility to what you can do. So with the input from some beta testers, they suggested being able to go to a particular step in a sequence, but queue it rather than send it straight away, regardless of whether your sequential mode set to always or secondary. So you can use another switch to kind of get a sequential step ready, and then you can trigger it. So, that's, I think we're going to try and add that into 1.1.0. I'm not too sure, but yeah, smart messages, they're really, really cool. And that they take up just one MIDI message slot. So if you have 16 or 8 or however many messages available, that could be 16 of those smart messages. So a lot of power there.
Yeah. One
foot switch can turn on all the other foot switches, but smart messages may not be the best way to do that because Aux switches, bank expression pedals, switch groups. What are switch groups, you say? I keep you teasing because it's a longer topic. New feature for onboard editing, you get a template and copy setting here. Go in here. And this is where you can basically copy and paste banks or switches, if you like. So copy from means that the current bank, you can copy that from any other bank. So let's say you have a really nice bank configuration on bank 10. You can go copy from, it'll set it up. Set as template allows you to set whatever bank you're on as a template. And then inside all the other banks, you can just click on configure from template, and bam, it'll set it up from whatever your template bank is. So some really nice features and functionality there for quick config and setup.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that's really important is because this update will require a factory reset, and we haven't got a way to back up that information that you've pre-programmed because of how much has changed on the structure of how the switch modes work and the bank, the message stack sizes to some degree as well. So yeah, we've got the copy in there for the banks and individual switches, so that it's a lot easier for you to set up work that you've done before.
Yeah, that's right. So that's going to be really helpful if you're out at a gig, you don't want to recall the app, which we'll get to later in the stream, and you just need to make some quick changes, set up a new bank or something. So really nice. Hey Elliot, by the way, great to have you in here. Yes, Q-Step, we'll do our best. Another question. Was curious if it would be possible to scroll through banks without actually engaging them, and then when the time is right, recall a specific bank. Great question.
Indeed.
And it's funny because I was talking with Elliot earlier in the week about sort of bouncing back and forward some ideas for this, and not in this firmware release because we want to get that out without too much more delay, and we don't want to keep adding features and feature creeping, but in probably the next one after that, I dare say. I've been working on a bank scrolling mode, and what that'll allow you to do is it's still a work in progress, but let's say, so normally on a bridge 6 you would bank by pressing either 2 and 3 or 1 and 2 together. What you could do is if you press and hold those, on the hold it will take you to a bank scrolling mode, and you'll be able to really quickly browse through the banks, the bank names, quickly access them and jump straight to them and trigger them from this, but essentially be able to just browse through all your banks like a library a lot quicker without actually engaging them, so you can see what's there. So that will be really helpful and really nice, I'm sure. So let's go to switch groups. This is along with the the different switch behaviors and smart messages. This is the guts of this update. Switch groups.
Hey, Sam.
Yes.
Scrolling mode does
Yes.
work with the bank up smart message. So you could scroll and then send it on the secondary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is exactly what he's asking.
Well,
Scroll to a bank number and then engage it with the secondary when the time is right. I mean,
yeah.
So you can do that.
You can do that now, yeah. But the idea for like that bank scrolling we're talking about is you can actually see the bank names that you're going to, and rather than just one at a time, you might be able to view 3 at a time, something like that. But yeah, you could do that now with this.
Yes, yeah. So if this is what you're after, you can use the scrolling mode to scroll up to like bank 10 or whatever, and then have it so that it doesn't send until you press and hold or double press on the secondary to actually activate that send, and then it will go to that bank. But then you won't have that scrolling unless you set up on the target bank another scrolling thing to go back down, or a go to bank switch. You would need some other way to get back out of that bank as well. So yeah, it is possible. I think you could probably set up most things that you would like, but as Sam says, you can't see the bank name. You just have to know what number you're going to.
Yeah, so we're going to work on a really nice way to do that, but we don't want to hold up that, because that's going to be a little bit of work to make sure it works. So, but switch groups are really, really cool. I'm really excited about them. We've spent a lot of time working on them and fine-tuning them. Now, the way that it works is on board you have, for now this number may change, but it's working fairly well at the moment. You have 8 groups, and in a group you can assign. Again, this number is, to be finalized, but for now it's working pretty well. In each of these 8 groups, you have 8 assignments that you can perform, and you can assign a switch to a group. What that means is those switches can interact with each other and automatically control their states depending on how you set them up. So a great example of this, which someone might demonstrate sort of later when I'm explaining, is snapshots on a Helix. Or your HX Stomp, you've got your 3 snapshots, and the idea is that when you engage one, the others turn off. You can't have multiple snapshots engaged. Now, this is a very basic example of how you might use these switch groups, but it should be pretty familiar. All right. So what you can do is you could have 3 foot switches, each corresponding to a snapshot. And when you press any of the foot switches, it turns the others off. So there's only ever one activated. And you can turn that one independently off, perhaps, if you want to, but when you press 1, it not only turns the LED off of the others, but will also fire the toggle off messages of the others, so that you can send other messages to different devices that you might want to synchronize with those snapshots. Now, I'll demonstrate. Group 1. I'm going to edit group 1. No group members. Let's fix that. Add. All right. So we can browse through our foot switches. 1, primary, secondary, so on and so forth. So, for the sake of editing, we're on 1 primary. Now we've got all these options here. So, broadcast. This is the behavior. So, in other words, when this switch has an event, when it's toggled, when it's whatever the switch mode is configured to, what's its behavior? Can it transmit switch group events as well as receive? Can it transmit only? Can it receive only? So on. Now, respond to, when it is capable of receiving, what events does it respond to? Does it respond to toggle and momentary on, the off, or both? You can see you've got on, off, or the combination. And when it does respond to those events, what is its response? How does it respond to them? So does it respond as an or, which basically means, it's going to be the opposite of the state that is toggling it? Is it an and? Is it the same as the state that's toggling it? Does it toggle regardless? Is it on no matter what happens? Is it off no matter what happens? So
for snapshots, you leave that on off.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and we'll set up some assignments, and I'll show you what this works, and then Simon can show you in a more practical setting with some gear. So we're just going to set the response to off. We'll leave it kind of fairly as is. So we'll save that group member there. We'll add another one. In this case, I'm going to set it to the primary secondary. And again, we'll set that response to off. Save it. And the LEDs will show you the currently, what switches belong to this group. So you can see we've got the secondary on foot switch 1 lit up strongly because it's the currently edited group member. So we can, if we're browsing through the members, and also the other group members belonging to the group will be dimly lit. So you can really clearly see what's happening in your group. So let's add one more and we'll make it off again. And let's make this foot switch 3 primary. Cool. We'll save that. Now, let's exit out of here. Now I turn foot switch 1 on. It's all good. It's all kosher. When I turn foot switch 3 on, it automatically turns foot switch 1 off, and vice versa. You can toggle these. When I press and hold, I think I set this to, oh no, yep, I set it to momentary. So let's set that to hold to better illustrate the point. But the secondary is going to be hold toggle. I think will work nicely for this. All right, let's turn it on. When we hold, toggles it onto the secondary. We press this, turns that off. And you could, all 3 snapshots using only 2 foot switches or 3 foot switches, so on and so forth. Do you have your setup loaded up there, Simon, with a stomp? Your audio has gone. You muted yourself.
Sorry, I muted myself while I was setting up my Bridge 6 here so that my switches weren't making too much noise.
That's all good. Are you ready, or do you want me to keep showing?
Yeah, keep going just a sec.
Okay, that's cool.
Maybe show one of the other response types or something like
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely. So now what we might do is you might want to have one foot switch with the primary and the secondary modes kind of toggling 2 different things. So we'll go to switch groups. Now we'll leave 1 as is. You can see 1 shows various switches there. Let's go to 2. Edit. Part of the beauty is 1 foot switch can belong to multiple groups, and all the groups can have multiple foot switches in them. So you can set up however many groups you want and have them all interact with each other, which is really, really nice. So let's go to, let's go to foot switch 6. Now, we're going to leave that as is. We'll put it on OR. All right, so this is sort of the default where you want foot switches to toggle each other. Save. Now we'll add, we'll leave that on OR. Foot switch 6 secondary. Save. All right, now turn that on. It's all well and good. I think I've set that up to be, I'll double check. Config on the secondary is double tap toggle. All right, let's set that to hold momentary, if we will. Save that, exit out. So we can turn this on or off as you'd expect. But now when we hold it, we can do these really cool behaviors. See, when I hold it, it toggles it on and then off. So you might have a hold function when you that engages some other set of MIDI messages while ever you're holding that foot switch in. So it sends a momentary on message there, and because the primary side is set to respond to those on messages, it will toggle off in this configuration. And then when we release it, it sends an off, which toggles it back on. So you can get kind of alternate, momentary hold behaviors, or you could set as a toggle and flip flop it back and forwards. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, so switch groups are really, really powerful, and they will be able to operate across device links. So you can have, get my other Bridge 6 here. Sorry about clicking. Some other, 1 second. So yeah, some other Bridge 6, you can notice there's a nice splash screen now too while you're booting up. So This one's just configuring for the first time. It's only just flashed the new firmware onto it. We're doing some A/B testing, but I'm going to show you device link. Now, this is actually one of the last things to be sort of polished off for the new firmware. So fingers crossed I haven't, there's no major bug here going on, but I think we should be okay. Flexiport 2 we'll use. Mode. Now, device link. All right. We set this Flexiport as device link, which is a high-speed bidirectional communication built around custom SysX or system exclusive packets. So set the mode. Now in global, we can go to device link, and we've got the role and we've got control. So we can decide what things get controlled via device link and also the role. You've got master and slave. We are going to rename those in the world of engineering and communications. Master and slave devices is a very common terminology. I think it's probably not best representative of what's going on here. So we'll probably rename those. If that upsets anyone, I'm very sorry. But for now, we'll just sort of roll with that. So by default, it will be a slave because the idea is you only have one master on the network, one controlling device. So we'll leave that. Now, in our Flexiport indicator, we've got this little S indicator here for our device link. And you can see it's not filled in, it's hollow, which means device link's set up, but there's no connected devices. That device link port is not active. Enter a second bridge 6. Bam. Now there are 2 of them. It's getting out of hand. Global. In case you can't tell, I'm a massive Star Wars nerd. Flexiports. Flexiport 2. Mode. Device link. There we go. Now, what we want to do is go into device link and change the role to be master. And you'll see we've got this M. So you can see the UI needs some tweaks. It's got this funny little bump on the top there. But yeah, TRS cable. Flexiport 2 into Flexiport 2. And is this going to work? Yeah, there we go. So that's nice. So you can see now this is filled in solid, indicating that it is connected. If we unplug it, after a second, it'll recognize that it's been disconnected, or it should. Previous sort of beta, that was working fine. Anyway, it'll sort of automatically detect that. Anyway, what we might do is just sort of power those on and off again. So it'll automatically configure. We've just been playing around with sort of exactly how that works. So you can see it's hollow, and then it should recognize the master device connected and go solid. This is very much showing you a work in progress. So I think it might not sort of automatically set when you power them off. So all this is sort of just a work in progress look, so you guys can see what's going on. But set that. Device link, roll, slave, we'll set that. Is that going to play nicely? I was hoping to show you guys this today, but it's been sort of the last thing to get to, so it might not. My apologies if not. No, we'll save that for another live stream. But you can remotely control devices using each other. It's tested and working really well. I just had to disable it while I was doing some of the other feature testing, and sort of re-enabling that and just fine-tuning it has been one of the last things that needs doing. But that's okay. Hey, Traveling Simon, sorry about that little intermission.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I've just gone a little bit overboard, renamed my banks, renamed the switches, changed all the colors, and set up a switch group, and of course put the snapshot MIDI CCs in. So give me a second. I will try and get this camera on my phone working. But I can tell you it looks really nice, but you're not going to believe me unless I can show you, right?
Cool. While you're doing that, Simon, we had a couple of sort of pre-prepared messages.
Oh, yes.
From Matthias, I believe, who couldn't make the stream.
Yeah, and I remembered someone else as well when you mentioned
Oh,
that
yeah.
device link uses sysx.
Oh, Guy, that was your messages on the stream. Sorry about that, mate. Okay, so yes,
my camera is working here.
nice. So just quickly, Johan, I can't watch live either. My question is, will it support large sysx messages? Firstly, I guess it depends on what large means. But yeah, it supports passing through all standard MIDI messages, including sysx. We'll probably have to do a bit of tweaking for exactly how that works, like testing now it works just fine, no worries. Whether, some arbitrarily large packet might cause an issue, we haven't really got to that extreme in testing. It should work fine. But, we'll see how we go with that. But yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. Now, a couple of other questions, I think from Matthias, that's around the yet to be kind of properly released Flexi Hub, though. So we might come to that at the end if you want to take it away, Simon.
Okay, I'm going to stuff around with my MacBook camera here. How's that, Sam?
Looks good to me.
Yep, okay. So you can see here I've got my beautiful acrylic cover on my Bridge 6.
I have to make... There we go.
Hey, there you go. Nice. Okay, cool. Now I can see it better as well. So I'll angle that in and try not to get the light in it. Okay, so see I've got my lovely acrylic cover on here, but maybe I'll take it off so you can see the LEDs a bit better. I have my HX Stomp Bank. I've got my 3 switches labeled as snapshots. In the press message stack, I've added CC69 with values 0, 1, and 2, which is how you access the snapshots on the HX Stomp there. And I've added them to a switch group. Go to the switch groups here. And in switch group 1, it shows me that I've got these 3 switches in the switch group, which is cool. So if you go to switch group 2, suddenly those lights turn off. So that's a really quick way of seeing which switches in this bank you've got in that group. So I'm just going to edit that group. And I can scroll through these 1, 2, and 3, and it shows me the settings for the response, broadcast, and respond to for each one. So you can see it changing 1, 2, 3, and the settings don't change because they're all the same. I've got the response to off, which means that when another switch is pressed, this LED turns off, which is what you want for snapshots. Apart from that, I've left everything.
Really, really quickly on that, Simon. When it says the response is off, what that means is the switch is going to turn itself off when it receives those events. Now, something that won't really be evident here, and it won't matter, but may in your use case, is the switch is always going to turn off when it receives an on or an off, event based on Simon's setup there. Now, what that means you can do is you can re-trigger the toggle off stack, which can be really powerful, but that may not be the intended use case. So what you would maybe want to do is modify the respond to so that it only, triggers when another switch turns on rather than repeatedly triggering the off.
It's super complex. I think I haven't really even got my head around the full capabilities of all these response and broadcast settings and that kind of thing, but this works really well. So let's go out here and I'll show you. You should be able to see on the HX Stomp there. Let's just see what I've got there. I've actually got the snapshot page, so you can very clearly see that it's changing snapshots. So it's on snapshot 1. Let's change to snapshot 2, snapshot 3, 2, 1. Super cool. Well, what have I done there, Sam? Oh, I've changed banks.
Nice.
There we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. There you go. Snapshots. What everyone was asking for. Works very, very nicely. And I love the colors. Very cool.
Very nice. Can you tilt it? Yeah, I was going to say down. No, the other way. Yeah, so you can see with those LEDs even, and like a bit more, you actually get a really nice viewing angle on them because they do illuminate sort of the sides of the receptacle. So really easy to see even if you're on an angle there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I think the LEDs are probably the one thing that's very difficult to capture on the video.
LEDs in general, because basically any emissive device on a camera is going to be hard to capture because it's not reflecting light around it, which is sort of the basis of what most cameras will pick up. You can get much more expensive cameras than we're using for this stream, but low quality stream relatively, that will handle that. But generally speaking, it's quite difficult because the emissive light is so much brighter. The magnitude of those so much more than just light bouncing off your walls or surfaces and things like that. So I'm sure more technical people will just be yelling at their monitors saying there's more to it, but it's the engineer's rule of thumb there. Cool.
Yeah. So we've gone through the Aux switches, I
might show the
switch groups
just plugged in.
If you want. Well, that's a good opportunity to show off the little beauty prototype you've got sitting there.
Yeah, and funnily enough, just scrolling through the Flexiport types, we might as well talk about the new MIDI modes you've got. So we added some new MIDI modes. From your Flexiports, you can now control pretty much any TRS MIDI device, regardless of its type. You've got MIDI out type A, MIDI out type B, MIDI out tip active. So
and did you end up grabbing the relay interface as well, Sam?
No, I'll go and grab it though. But the Space Race from Alexander and all their stuff, I believe, is tip active MIDI, so you can do that. Or ring active, like your Chase Bliss stuff is going to be ring active, so it's quite nice. But let's go to an Aux switch for Flexiport 1. Exit out of this. We take our Aux switch. This tri-switch is so much more than just an Aux switch. But I'll plug it in so we get some LEDs. Everyone likes LEDs.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone likes their LEDs.
It's such a cool device.
I'll take.
Oh, I love it so much. I haven't even seen this in person yet, guys. I am very excited to get my hands on one of these.
Yeah, and this has our new anodized finish that we got from our enclosure sampler. It's like this matte black anodized finish, and it just looks so good. I've got another sample here. I'll see if I can catch the light on it on this bottom surface. I think the quality of the video is going to just make this a fruitless exercise, but it's like this really just silky matte black anodized sampler. Looks so good. I digress. We've got our tri-switch here. Now these switches are currently configured to be toggle the LED behavior, so you'll see that sort of in a toggle state. I'll unplug that so the LEDs don't kind of confuse anyone. Why is I have the right cable plugged in? I think I just plugged the wrong cable in and it's on the wrong device. Or is it this cable? Sorry, I think I've got a bad cable. That TRS cable. Let me just find another TRS cable. 1 second. There's one, I think. Sorry about this, folks. I've got another cable plugged into this bridge here. So let's just try that. We'll go. Always check your cables. Mode. Where are we? Aux switch.
Yeah, that's actually been one of the main problems we've had with devices not responding to messages from the Bridge 6 is often a TRS cable that's either the wrong TRS configuration for the MIDI type that you're using, or actually just a bad cable that's broken.
No, it's actually not the cable. It was me. I was working with our beta testers last night, trying to just look at a strange edge case with Aux switches, and I was putting some very experimental firmware on here, and it messed with the UI for the Aux switch. That was me knowing I had to be up at like 4:45 and working on firmware at 11:30. Mistake. So
yeah, that'll do it.
It works really nicely. I think we've got examples in some other streams, but yeah, you got this really nice UI for looking at press and hold events and things like that.
Chuck has asked, any update for MIDI in over TRS or MIDI clock through?
MIDI in over TRS, no issues there. You've got your MIDI in port there. So assuming that's Chuck, I know we've got some email correspondence there. We'll kind of continue that on separately. But yeah, your MIDI in TRS on the bridge 6 and bridge 4 there. Clock through, yeah. So some of the through, we're having some issues passing through messages with the devices. That's all been sorted out, so it'll pass MIDI clock through. No doubt, I've gone from sending MIDI clock through some bridges to the computer or from the computer through other devices, and no issues there at all. So that's all nice.
How does
the output control USB be? I don't quite understand your question. Sorry. Hi from Italy as well. I'm not sure I understand your question.
So there's two different people.
Yeah, that's
yeah, cool. Just letting you know.
So the USB is a MIDI input and output. Kind of whatever you're controlling. You can target the output in your messages or through as well. Just the same as you would any other MIDI.
If you mean, can you plug into a device with a USB-B port? No, because USB denotes that the device is not a host, and our device isn't a host either. So you can't. Yes. USB MIDI requires that you have to have a USB host, so you can't plug.
Sorry, I know what was being, or I think I know what was being referred to. Sorry, Simon. MIDI out Type A and Type B. That's not USB Type A and Type B. What that is for TRS wiring. You've got either the ground on the sleeve, and then either the signal on the tip and the current source on the ring, or swapped around, and that's referred to as Type A and Type B, not USB. Man, the world needs to come up with some better identifiers for things, but that's a side.
Yeah, and there's another question here.
Anyway,
yeah,
you go.
Just a thought. Okay. Any way to clear or reinitialize a bank or switch? So the quickest way to do this would just be to copy a blank bank, copy and paste.
But that's not a bad idea. I think there's definitely some merit in just being able to kind of wipe all the config and names and messages, because even on like a default config, you'll have just the default like basic assignments to get you going. So not a bad idea. It'll be pretty, I guess, arbitrarily easy to do with the editor. But for onboard, yeah, definitely that makes a bit of sense. Sure. We don't have too much more time, so I'm going to go and grab the relay
and the MIDI through
output, and also we're going to show off the new MIDI through Gizmo.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'm just going through the menus here to make sure I haven't missed anything. Interface, custom colors, UI mode, preserve bank states. Preserve bank states was something that a lot of people were asking about. I think it's in the firmware version that's currently out there. You can, when you toggle switches and you go to another bank and you come back, then all those switches are in their same states. Can anyone remind me whether we did implement that preserve bank states in the current firmware version? It's been so long since I've used it, actually. Let me go onto our website with the change log, and I will.
Did I hear change log?
Yeah, I was just looking at whether we did the preserve bank states on 1.0.3.
Yeah, that's in there for sure. If you go to in global.
Yeah, but I was just trying to remember whether it's new in 1.1 or whether it was in 1.0.3.
Gotcha. I think some of the functionality had to be tweaked, like because all the switch stuff is sort of different.
It's not in 1.0.3 that I can see.
Cool. So, you've got preserve banks, preserve the bank states, which means that when you bank or when you boot up, will it remember what the toggle states were the last time, basically.
Yeah.
Don't need that.
Yeah, another question here. Just curious if tap tempo is the same as MIDI clock for sending to a delay pedal, for instance. Yeah, that's right. So what the tap tempo Flexiport mode does is it takes your MIDI clock that you've got assigned to one of your switches. It won't work without assigning something to be a MIDI clock switch. And it takes that and outputs it by the Flexiport with switch impulses opening and closing the circuit like an external tap tempo switch would do. So for something like a Boss delay pedal, an older one that has like an external control pedal that most people would have used for a tap tempo switch, you can plug that into the Flexiport and it will control it based on the tap tempo. So you can have a switch on your bridge 6 as the tap tempo, be tapping your tempo. The tempo will be changing on your non-MIDI delay pedal, for example. So yeah, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's right. Now, you could also use smart messages with the switch out Flexiport mode to kind of just, like when you press it, it closes the contact. When you release it, to sort of emulate that tap tempo foot switch. So you could do it that way. Like if you were using, something where you just want to send a couple of taps, you don't want to constantly send that clock to it for whatever reason, you could do it that way too. But yeah. I use the bridge 6 with some Strymon pedals, and I use toggle switch. Is it possible to have the LED on only in the preset I use? My bridge has 2 LEDs working, but I like to know what the preset active. Okay. Sorry, just give me another second. I'll try and make sure I understand your question properly. Only in the preset you use. Yeah, so I think you're referring to like you don't want to have multiple LEDs on at the same time,
Oh yeah, switch groups.
Yeah, if you jump back in the stream a little bit, you'll see that we talked about switch groups and how you can do that. Very similar concept to how you might want to configure it for snapshots for a HX stomp. If you have a different question, please, reach out to re-clarify. But we were doing some testing with the Morningstar relay interface. Really nice, little box. If you need, to control something via a relay, this is going to do a really good job. Especially if you need it before, like the Flex Hub's released. I really like the way this is built. It's really cool. Let me grab. We actually had a customer ask about controlling this specifically, and unfortunately, you weren't able to do that. Sorry, I'm off camera here. You weren't able to do that. There we go. What a hot mess. You weren't able to do that by default. We weren't sure exactly how the switching on this works, and there wasn't too much info on the Morningstar website. But had a look, and you've got an LED for power, and then
it's bigger than I thought.
I was holding it up, but yeah. Anyway, so we've set the Flexiport mode to the relay interface. If we exit out, you can see we've got this tip and ring indicator here, which is going to show us what the states are. Now, what we can do is we can use some smart messages to control this. So I'm going to go in. I'll show you the config, on the fly, so you can see how you might set this up. We'll use switch 2 config. I'm going to set this up as a sequential foot switch. We'll save that. All right, and now I'm going to go to the messages, sequential messages. We're going to get rid of a bunch of these messages because we don't need those. Just want 3. We're going to cycle through the tip, the ring, the tip, and the ring. Oh, actually, I might add another message for blank new step. We don't really care about the switch names for now. This is just to show you the relay functionality. So I'll set some unique colors here as well as the messages. So on this 4th step, what we're going to do is use a smart message. For relay interface on Flexiport 1, it's going to be off. Switch in. Save.
That happens pretty rarely, Sam, that horizontal scrolling acceleration, but it does happen.
Okay. All right, I'll edit this one. Sorry, I'm just trying to get to this without chewing through too much time. So we'll edit the messages here. Again, smart message, relay, and this one can be tip and ring. I'm sort of working backwards here, so Forgive me if it doesn't make too much sense. Done. Step 2, edit. We'll make that purple. And again, I'm going to edit the message to a smart message. Relay interface. Make that the ring. Done. And this last one. Why did I go through the custom colors? I don't want a custom color. I haven't made any custom colors yet. And in the messages, on this particular device, of course, I've made some custom colors. Going to go to relay interface and just the tip. Cool. So now, ignoring the names, we're not really caring too much about that. We've got our steps. Going to press, it's going to turn the ring on. We're on step 2. Then we press again, turn the tip and the ring on. Step 3, clear for step 4. Back to the start to engage the tip. So, omniport in on your relay interface box. Going into, so we had to do a little bit of reverse engineering on this and take it a look. We're going to be doing a teardown Tuesday to kind of walk through that process. Yeah, really nice little bit of kit. We plug in our relay, and you can see now, try and turn that top-down light off, just see if you can see the LEDs on this a little bit easier. Hopefully you can see that. That's the tip LED indicated, matching our UI. We'll cycle through again. You can hear that click of the relay. Now the ring. And the ring LED is active. Both LEDs light up. They're very small LED indicators. And clear. We can cycle through those to our heart's content. It's very lovely.
Very cool.
Very lovely. We are unfortunately time constrained this morning. Simon might stay on the stream. I'm not sure if there's more questions. I've got to go and help my dad build a fence. Big fence. So, But the last thing I wanted to kind of cover off when we were going to show off, as you guys might have heard, we recently acquired new equipment to do our own PCB assembly in-house. What this means is we get the blank PCBs. I'll go find some.
Oh, okay. So this user's come and said, I think in this firmware update, the state of the LEDs return to how the preset is saved and don't return to the on-off LED state to the last time the preset was used. So can you decide what state the LEDs for each switch will be when you save a preset? Yeah, that's the
Gotcha.
preserve bank states.
That's the preserve bank settings. We were talking about that just a little while ago. So you have the option global. That it wipes them, it doesn't save those states when you bank, or it does, and you can kind of configure that. As for, like preset settings for all the states when you load banks, on a per bank basis, you can't do that at this point, but maybe something for us to look into.
Yeah.
Anyhow, if you're not aware, this is a panel of PCBs for our first thing we built. They look very, I think they look very nice. I'm going to show you on the top-down camera. Here, I think they look really nice. MIDI through panel of blank PCBs. Magically, this is a partially assembled one. We're doing some testing, but panel of assembled PCBs.
Whoa, don't move it so much.
Sorry. Didn't realize it was getting framey. So these haven't actually been properly soldered. This was just sort of a test run of the panel. But if you want a finished one, we get this.
Ooh. That's awesome. Look how small it is.
Oh, it's teeny.
Very
size
cool.
Comparison. Now, what we want to... Anyway, we've got our PCB assembly equipment. It's pretty complex machinery, and it assembles circuit boards, which means we're doing all of our electronics manufacturing from we get the raw PCBs and the components. We're doing all that in-house, which is really exciting. We've kind of covered off on the why, before, but tighter quality control, much more agile, faster turnaround times, less delay, less reliance on the global supply chain, which is a bit of a hot mess at the moment and will be for quite some time. So that's good. But yeah, in getting used to all this new equipment, we wanted a small project that was going to be a little bit simpler than the circuit boards inside a bridge to assemble and test and design. So I designed this. We've been thinking of doing something like this for a while. It is the first of what we're calling gizmos. And gizmos are basically really neat functional devices, products, projects, however you want to flavor it, but they're going to be fully open source. So the schematics, the an explanation of how it all works, all the technical documents for this will be available online. We're going to put that up shortly, and you can take this design, you can make your own from scratch if you wanted to. You can modify it however you see fit. You'll also be able to order it from us as a finished product. It's going to have a 2-part laser cut acrylic case with some beautiful etched graphics on there showing what the dip switches do. It's going to be pretty cheap. And what does it actually do, I hear you ask? Good question. Well, my camera just shut off.
Oh, no.
So you want to hear the jank of all jank setups. I'm using my SLR and webcam, the front-facing webcam at the moment, and the battery just died. So here I am.
In the dark.
If anyone wants to send us a pro streaming setup, you're more than welcome, but we'll get there eventually. It's got to chuck in a new battery in because I am too cheap to buy a power adapter for this camera. No, they're actually weirdly expensive. Hey, that
wonderful.
went smoother than I expected it to. Anyway, what is this, I hear you ask? Take 2. Well, as the top-down camera shows, it's a MIDI Thru board, and in my opinion, one of the best. So, we've got 2 different power sources. a DC barrel jack and USB. Now, this isn't a USB MIDI device because that requires a microcontroller and a lot more kind of complex circuitry to handle like you would have on a bridge. Raises the cost, raises the difficulty in sourcing parts for it, so on and so forth. But means you can power it via USB, so you've got options. You have MIDI input, and the case will have labels for showing what everything is. But you've got a MIDI input, TRS, Type A, MIDI input. You send your MIDI into there, you're off to the races. Next, you've got a MIDI Thru, and that's, again, Type A, and that's just a hardwired MIDI Thru, so you can link up multiple devices together. You can use them with our bridges or any other Type A MIDI device, or Type B if you just, or the other types if you just get an adapter cable. But this is trying to solve this problem, and we have then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 MIDI Thru ports, each with a dip switch. And this dip switch is very similar to the Alexander pedals, or I think just Alexander. They have a MIDI Thru something.
I'll find it.
They've got a something, and it's really cool. It's quite bulky. You've got like 1/4-inch ports, and we were just trying to do something a little bit different. Rather than 4 ports, you've got 8. But you can configure each port independently to do MIDI Thru Type A, MIDI Thru Type B, tip active, ring active, or tip and ring active for use with a Y splitter cable. And for each port, you just set the dip switches to do how you please. So it's pretty cool. It's it's simple. It's got an LED there to indicate when messages are coming into it, so you can see make sure your messages are working properly. It's really nice, and we wanted to do this to get our hands to get going with the new equipment. And now we're kind of pretty well across this process. Then now we're moving to manufacturing our run of bridges for everyone, which is exciting. So yeah, I think the plan is we're going to put these up on finalise, do a run of them with some cases, put them up in our store. These are going to be pretty cheap. We're not trying to charge an arm and a leg on these at all. A ballpark would be maybe like $50, something like that. So really accessible for people, and also all of the documentation and technical design documents are going to be up online, open source. You can take a look, and it's a really nice sort of something to have on your bench or your studio. where you just need to be able to use that MIDI through and send one MIDI output to a whole bunch of other MIDI devices to control them, and might have a mishmash of different TRS types. So
Yeah, it's really cool.
I also just think it looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks very cool.
My camera's died again, I think.
Oh, well, that must be the end of the stream then. Thanks heaps, Sam, for walking us through all that. The relay interface is really exciting. The tri-switch there, we're looking forward to getting that out shortly. And yeah, the MIDI through will be the next cab off the rank, which we've got to get done very shortly so that we can get on to manufacturing these bridges, because it's going to be May tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be May.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks everyone. I haven't seen any other questions here. Thanks.
If you have a question and we didn't get to you, or you didn't write it, just shoot us a message or an email, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and if you're rewatching this, feel free to leave your question in the comments or whatever.
Or if you have suggestions for other live streams or things that we should cover in the future, let us know as well.
Yep, and on Tuesday, Australia time, we will be doing Teardown Tuesday with the Morningstar Omniport relay interface.
And then I think after that, we'll be looking at some witty gear. This is Teardown Tuesday is just us finding cool gear that we like to look at, because I'm just a big nerd and I like to pull things apart and see how it works, how I got into engineering in the first place. And often we're testing for compatibility or functionality with our bridges. And we just wanted to capture that and share it with you guys. We might do a teardown of some of our own devices too. And it's just, cool stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.
See ya.
Bye.